Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand. Welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Monday, August 7, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be having a Time for Change call this Wednesday night around 9 p.m. Eastern. Once we figure it out that, and it is a mind work, quite frankly, to figure out that we are not the body and not the mind. So we have, and many of us have no idea what we are. We're so attached to the body that we lose an understanding of what we really are in the body, and the body is like a vehicle that carries us around. And once we reconnect with, we're not disconnected, but memory-wise, once we rediscover the fact that we are gods in these bodies, then everything changes. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about. This whole journey, this endless journey, is discovering. This is the next evolutionary step for humanity, where more and more of us become more aware of who and what we are, and we no longer are connected and attached and have expectations to the material physical world, which we create to entertain ourselves. This is all entertainment. This isn't, that's why we talk about not taking life so seriously, because it's temporary, number one, and number two, it's entertainment. We create the very things right in this very now that we're experiencing. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. And the unfortunate part is the reason here on this planet that we have this conflict, this upheaval, conflict, aggressive conflict, murder, death, kill, all these things, is because the ego mind is deeply in charge of those people who wish to do harm. That's the bottom line. So until, see, they believe they're doing good. And one thing is that some people will grimace that they're part of us. We're part of them. So it's not like there's something separate. All of us, even though the reptilians, Pleiadians, are all vehicles. Those vehicles carry spirit, soul, God, pure consciousness. And then you can start to understand why we've had so many conflicts throughout the galactic space, throughout existence and beyond. It affects every civilization, some more than others, less than others. And this is what it's all about. It's discovering that we are gods in the body. And you would think or believe that, are there civilizations? Because the journey never ends. We're constantly progressing, learning, experiencing. Even if we had 1 billion lifetimes, 1 trillion lifetimes, 1 centillion lifetimes, doesn't make any difference. Infinity of lifetimes. It's all, this whole construct, everything. And all that there is, ever has been, ever will be, ever beyond and forever, is created by the collective consciousness, which we are part of. The changes that happen, like in this solar system, like I said, we have about 160-some planets. Of most, they know some of them, but they don't talk about. They haven't discovered much. And all of those planets become affected when we have the shift of energies, the changes, like the photon energy field that we're all in, this whole solar system, that's flying through. Space moves. Space moves. Starships don't really move. And I know that sounds really strange. Space is what moves. So as space moves, we move through interstellar space. We're constantly expanding. Planetary systems are constantly being created. By who? Us, collective consciousness. Now, it doesn't mean that we are aware. It doesn't mean that we're aware of it. What it means is that we have kind of an inclination at times where we seek our own God out. It's like I've said many times, you pray to the God that you are. You ask for something that you want. You ask the universe for what you want. You will not be successful 99% of the time if you ask from the ego mind. You will be if you're in the now, focused on the breath and in the now, the present moment. Now we all, we fluctuate. We go into the future. We wonder, worry, stress of the future, and then we wonder, worry, and stress of the past. Did we get it right? Was that a mistake, or did I make a mistake, or anything? And it's just experiences, and we gather these experiences. But the interesting thing in this sector of the galaxy is that we have this amnesia. We don't remember. So how do you get a start when you don't remember who and what you are? So when you leave the body, 99.999% of the time, when any of us leave the body, we don't know who and what we are. Does the soul or the God, after it leaves the body, know who and what it is? Nope, doesn't. Still in amnesia. So what happens? Well, it comes back into another life and starts over. All of us have had numerous lifetimes, way beyond what these mad scientists believe they know. Because if you knew everything, if you really knew everything, which means any changes, any shifts, anything, and all that there is, ever has been, ever will be, ever beyond, and forever, then there would not be any motivation to exist. There wouldn't. That's where the danger comes in, where through trillions, quadrillions, centillions of our so-called years, and we should just say, why don't we just say millennia, centillion, quadrillions, trillions of millennia, which is 1,000 years. This has all been constructed so many times. Does it all end? Does all this, do all the universes and everything just vanish? And then there's nothing? Or is nothing full of energy? Those are the questions. Is nothing full of energy as well? We know that one thing is real. I believe we all know that the only thing is real is the God within us. It's the only thing. It's the only thing that doesn't change. Everything's changing. Bodies change constantly, right? Every split second they're changing. Everything around us changes. Everything we see changes. Our relationship changes. Our interactions change. Everything changes. Every split second, something is changing. And do you think it's just all of a sudden not going to change? It's like, why would we be afraid of change if in fact, the truth is that we never change. And the interesting thing is that many of us fear change. We fear it. Have you ever been in a situation, right, whatever it may be, might be surroundings, might be where you're residing, right, areas, whatever, people, where you just are definitely fearful of change. You don't care to have anything change. But what people say is that they don't want this to change. They like it to go exactly the way it is. So they say, I don't want this to change. And what happens? Well, it does. What if nothing ever changed? Some of you probably watched the movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray, right? And he's a reporter, and he's very arrogant and egotistical and everything, and treats people horribly. And so he goes to this little town, Punxsutawney, and they got the groundhog, and when summer's coming, when spring's coming, the end of winter, and this groundhog predicts it. So he goes there with his crew, and he gets caught in this continuum where every day is the same day. He replays everything over and over. Now, they never tell you how long he did that, but I guarantee you he did it a long, long, long time, where he got so frustrated he tried to off himself, and he ended up waking up in that bed and breakfast again, over and over again, electrocute himself in the bathtub with a toaster, drive off a cliff with a truck. I mean, he tried everything he could to end it, but he kept waking up. You imagine that's what it would be like. Nothing ever changes. That's the way the life would be. We would all go bonkers. There's just no doubt about it. We would just, how do we get out of this? And the moral of the story is that to be gentle, kind, generous with yourself and everyone else around you. Humble. And that's what he learned. So in this life, in any life that we've experienced, the perspective of all of us shifting, changing, the body, not the God, is imperative. Now you imagine if the time will come where you can stay in the body for as long as you wish. That'll change things. Where you stay in the body as long as you wish. 1,000 years? It's interesting because I'm sure there's people thinking about it. You ask yourself, how would you know anyway? None of us have had that opportunity as of yet to stay in that body, have that body live in a healthy format for, 200, 300, 400, 500. You come across a 90-year-old, they'd be like a little kid or a child. So, but that affords us many new avenues. But change is imminent. Change will always happen. It's like anything. Do you really believe that anything that you're looking at, right, or wanting is going to stay the same? It's not. It's going to change. Have you ever gone or grew up someplace, okay, and you look tiny kid and then child, and then you grow up and you go off on your way. You never go back there. You really have no motivation to go back there. And then one day, just for the heck of it, you go back there. And you notice that things have completely changed. They're completely different. Because you saw them as a child. I remember going back in California. I went, just happened to stumble across, it was with a group of people, and came by a place in California called San Rafael Village, where my family lived for a period of time until my father was transferred to another base. And there was a ditch behind, well, kind of, it was a ditch. To me as a kid, it was a ditch. It was huge. To me, it was like being in the Grand Canyon, down on the base floor by the river, right? And it was massive to me. And I'd run down it and everything and have a good time playing by myself. But when I went there, and the body is fully grown, right? And I looked, and it was like a little divot. It wasn't even a divot. It was like, to me, it was just small. It was very small compared to when I was a child. And everything, when we're children, looks humongous. People, adults, to us, look huge. Cars, everything, huge. Because of our perspective. And our perspective changes as, of course, the body grows. And we don't ever think about that. We don't ever, geez, I remember when I was a child, everything looked humongous. Now, it just looks like average, normal. So, probably many of us don't ever really give it much time, do we? Change. No. People get even though everything's changing, they kind of get bored and they redo their hair or how they look or change their clothing style or whatever it may be. To what? Why do we do that? To make things more interesting. As if things aren't interesting enough. Because we have so many things around us that we miss. We miss them all the time. But we don't know it. We're so wrapped up in the surrounding. We're so wrapped up in what we created, which is the material physical world. For entertainment purposes only. Now, when you view it from that perspective, and you understand that, well, this is all temporary. I definitely could be gone tomorrow. Or the next day. Or a year from now. I have no idea. What would happen to all of us if we knew exactly when we were going to leave these bodies? How do you think life would be? That we had a stamped date, all of us, on when we would leave these bodies. How do you think it would be? It'd be huge, wouldn't it? Because you couldn't change it. That would be one thing you could not change. That one was just etched in stone, and that's the end of that body. What would you do if you found out that you in 2 years you were going to have to leave the body? Now, we're not talking about disease or any of that. We're just saying that it's like a timer. And when that timer dings, you leave the body. The body could be healthy and everything, but that's the date that you will leave the body. Not an accident, none of the crap that we deal with on this planet on a day-to-day basis that's ravaging these bodies that we're in. But it just ends. It's an end point. Okay, so my stay of this body in this life's done. Okay, fine. I'm out of here. It would change so much, wouldn't it? People's perspectives, attitudes, ideas, everything. I believe that you would see a mixed match of all kinds of activity. I believe that you would see some people really appreciating every single moment they have. Really, truly, deeply appreciating it from their heart minds. Not taking things for granted anymore. Or ever. Being in deep gratitude for every hour you're in that body. Every second. And why do we create change? Why do we have so many different? Why do we create so many things out there that change all the time? And we don't notice it, do we? Every cycle on the planet, wherever you may be, let's just say you're in a regular 4-season climate, not like Florida or California, but a 4-season climate. You've got winter, spring, autumn, and summer. Not necessarily in that order, but let's say you do. So every year, you're in your town or wherever you're living, every year the seasons go by, right? Yeah, like with the trees and the colors changing, they do that every year. And you look at it every year and say, isn't that beautiful? Instead of saying, that's the God that I am. But you don't notice really change, do you? Do you really? I think not. You just look at it and you enjoy it, and that's it. You sit on the edge of a lake every year. In late summer, just a little snap of cold and chill in the air coming into fall, autumn. And so what you do is you sit there and you go, wow, this is great. I like doing this every year. But you don't look around and see the change. Every time you sat out there by the lake, that raccoon would bother you, but the raccoon's gone. Doesn't come by anymore. Or there were more birds around than that you start to notice that where are the birds? Where's their song? So we are such in a hurry, always in a hurry, that we push ourselves to do this and do that and do this and do that and do this and do that. And we miss most of the journey. That's exactly what happens. We don't notice a change because we're such in a hurry to get somewhere and we don't know where that is. We just know that we're going to get there. We have all these different possibilities. And most of them, or you could say possibilities, opportunities, fly right by. We're reminded of things during the course of our day. Things show up during the course of our day. Could be anything to get our attention about something or send us a message. But a lot of us don't look at it that way. None of this is negative. It's just becoming more and more aware of how wonderful this life is. I've heard people say, getting old sucks. Living is a drudgery. It's a hassle. This life is not enjoyable. All those things, those dank low frequencies. Do you know why that happens? Because we're too attached. We have too many expectations and we're too attached. What are we attached to? The material physical world. This is what we fear leaving. That's the material physical world. The change. Some people, when we talk about the season, some people they prefer summer all year round. So they try to locate, they will locate in a state that affords them that, or somewhere on the planet. Other people, very much their favorite time of the year is winter. So they go someplace where they can experience more winter. Other people love autumn. So they make sure they're in a treed area where there's a lot of trees that will change colors. And the difference, and everything shifts and changes with each season, which I find very phenomenal and enlightening. But if you're in a 24/7 climate that's mostly warm, muggy, humid, hot, because usually there's, in a lot of cases, the tropical areas have a lot of humidity because of the water, the ocean. Then you get places that are landlocked, which are southern areas of this country alone, which are still muggy and humid because the ocean winds bring in the moisture. Texas. Now, the real dry, arid areas that are really hot don't have mugginess because there's very little humidity. That's why they're dry and arid. But it's so subtle, the change, isn't it? You can't see it. It's invisible almost. And then the body goes through these cycles, and then you will start noticing things. You will start. And most people will just kind of go, no big deal. But then as time goes by, because of our egos, right, we just start doing things, which is more change to the body, like plastic surgeries and lifts and all kinds of things to try to keep the body from deteriorating. And every single time, every person I've ever watched, right, and you see, and after a while they start getting facelifts and stretch the skin, and then eventually they've had so many facelifts that they look like skin on bone. They look like skeletons almost, because their skin is about stretched as it's going to get. But they can't beat it, can they? Not yet. They can't for centuries and centuries and centuries. You age. The body ages. You exit it. And we're going so fast that we don't notice the change. Now, for instance, long time goes by, several years. You were with somebody, right? And you both moved away, and so you didn't keep much you did communicate through letters and stuff, phone calls, but you didn't. People still do send letters, by the way. But you didn't really, neither of you knew what life had educated you on, so to speak, or matured you in some ways, and experiences and everything. So you meet. And you look at each other visually. And it's one of two things. Usually the person says, "You look great," right? You know, long lost friend, you get together with them and you go, "Wow, you look great." And then they say what? "So do you." And so both of you feel good about it. But it's like when you're young, it's like when I got out of high school, there were certain girls in high school that, cheerleaders and stuff, because I was into a lot of sports, that were ravishing at that time. But then you see them like 40 years later, and you just go, wow, life has been heavy on them. And that's the truth. It wears us down because we allow it. It just wears us down. We have all that pressure on these bodies keeping us on the ground. We don't really think about that. the gravity is massive to keep us. So, you know, when you just jump up in the air, you feel heavy, right? Because it's not like you can jump up like on Mars. You could jump up and float up in the air because that it still has a gravitational field, but nothing like this planet. So and people say this is why we shrink. You know, you live long enough, your body lives long enough, you're 90, you've shrunk 4 or 5 inches at least because of the pressure, constant pressure, pushing down on us, pushing down on everything. And all of it changes. You don't realize, you don't see yourself getting shorter, right? But it's a change happening with your body. Your body starts changing more. And then you start noticing things, and then you say, well, I don't really care to have that. I don't really care. So what do? Well, I got to do something about it. I got to get rid of these wrinkles, right? Or I've got to get toned, or I've got to use more collagen, or I've got to do something. And here's the interesting part. Up until now, you couldn't do that. Right around the corner, you're looking at where staying young will not be a big deal. And you'll appreciate things. But what do you think will happen? Because everything's changing. And it's changing a lot quicker. Everything has always changed outside of us, right? But it's accelerated. It's greatly accelerated. It's changing a lot. The changes are a lot quicker than they used to be. They're so quick that now you notice them. You notice the change. Before it was kind of vague. You know, oh, maybe that's, someone draws your attention. You remember that restaurant? Yeah, I remember it. It's totally different. It completely changed. And you go, now you think about it, you're right. But most people wouldn't notice because they're too busy going somewhere, right? Too busy going somewhere. And you couldn't get a better analogy of the tortoise and the hare. You said, this is life, right? And all the tortoises is just absolutely super fast and wants to get to the finish, but doesn't see anything along the way. So the rabbit or the hare decides to say, well, I can take my time. I can take breaks and everything because the turtle is so slow. But see, the turtle notices the change, and it's looking everywhere, and it sees everything in the journey itself, rather than thinking about the finish, because the turtle knows it will get to the finish soon enough. It is in no hurry to get to the finish. And the rabbit was in a hurry. And we all know the story, and the analogy is slow down so you can see the change. You can see the change. Then you appreciate it more. Maybe some of it you'll say, I wish that color, I wish that building, that big barn they had all those antiques in, that sat there on the corner of Jessup and Jerome. I wish they hadn't painted it because it looked nicer. It was so bad. It had better energy. Now they painted it a different color. Those are the things you'll notice at times. Or you buy a new vehicle and you say, wow, this has really changed. Doesn't have this anymore. It's got this, and it's got more electronics and so on and so forth. You remember years ago when people were traveling American highway, and they were going on vacations and here and there. And the cars they were driving or what? A lot of them were standard shift. Automatic was a luxury, I guess you could say. And a lot of people drove automatics. And then it got more prevalent, and change came. But the cars were a lot different. A little bit more bumpy, bigger, of course. And back then we used to call them land yachts because they were so big, American cars. They just kind of floated down the highway. And they really did float. They really rode nice. But everything kept changing. So you get a new car and you go, wow, this has changed, that's changed. Everything. You can't even see the engine anymore because it's shrouded in plastic covers, right? And plastic covers so the point is change is constant. Right? You, the God, never changes. It's the only thing that's real. Even though we create all of this entertainment for ourselves, it's just entertainment. These lives that we have, that we're granted, right? Gifts. These lives that we have, we live them, of course, but we don't embrace the fact that we're in these bodies for a very short period of time, comparatively speaking. So I'm going to enjoy things. I'm not going to take life so seriously. It's temporary anyway. It's temporary for all of us. Sooner or later, you're going to leave the body. Then what do? Well, if you spend enough time focused on who and what you are and discovering that, you do a lot of things. See, we come in these bodies, like when you're a baby, when the body's, tiny, the human baby is the most vulnerable, weak creature of intelligent life that you can imagine. Can't take care of itself. Can't feed itself. If you look at baby wolves, just come out of the womb, within a few hours, they're learning how to eat and how to forage. So, human babies are, so vulnerable, so weak. And it takes a while for that body to get strong. And you don't notice how that body changes when you're tiny. When you were a kid, you'd have like growing pains. That's what parents would say. Your leg hurt or it ached. Your legs ache, growing pains. And pretty simple example or explanation of the pains, growing pains that the body goes through as it grows. And I had a person, there's more than one person through the years ask me, why does it stop growing? Because as the body ages, it's stopped growing. I don't get any taller. Right? And that's it. That's the full production issue human body from infant to adult. And then it's been aging all along. See, as it grows, it ages. It's like a plant, of a fruit or a vegetable plant. And it starts out little teeny, like a baby. And then it grows up to a big plant and bears fruit or bears vegetables. Same with the earth, the root vegetables, potatoes and carrots, turnips and that type of thing. And when you look at a seed that you put in the ground, and it bears fruit, and it's really good, how does that go from a seed to a huge tomato plant? How does that happen? It's really interesting, isn't it? I mean, the soil doesn't have flavorings, does it? No. Yeah, it's got nitrogen, oxygen, a little bit of carbon dioxide, other trace elements. But how does a seed produce that? Look at the massive change along the growth cycle. How do the trees, the leaves, and all these different plants live? Photosynthesis. Reaction to the sunlight. We know that if there's no sun, everything living on the surface of this planet would cease in a matter of days. So we have so many avenues that we could really take in to view the change, to slow down. I've known people that just could not slow down. And then when they leave the body, all the things they were going to do and wanted to do in most cases, they miss. Because the whole time, they were in a hurry to get nowhere. You ever been on the highway traveling, and someone just, zooms by you? We're almost where you could feel your vehicle, kind of move a little bit, but they just zoom by. And they're in a hurry, obviously. And isn't it funny? How many times have you seen this? Where you end up right behind them and where the traffic has slowed down. You see, they did all that rushing and everything, and you're right behind them. So did they gain any ground? No, not really. I kind of, you don't notice those though, do you? Does that register? I believe sometimes it does. Where you go, what a riot. That person was in such a hurry, and here I am right behind them. So they didn't gain any ground. So you just go with the flow. It's just, since things change so rapidly at a blink of the eye or faster. Well, I've talked to so many people. Have you ever planned? You got into really planning an outing or a vacation. You had the reservations set. You had the restaurant where you're going to be staying. Everything was just laid out perfectly. And then you go there and everything happens and your plans disappear. And, of course, you have attachment and expectations of those plans. So you suffer and you're disappointed. But you ever notice what happens when you go with the flow? You say, hey, let's just take a trip somewhere. Right? And you just start traveling. And where are we going to go? Oh, heck, who knows? Let's just go with it wherever we end up. Now, a lot of people wouldn't do that because they want everything, and they have this and reservations and everything. But half the fun of it is not knowing. Not knowing, what if you're going to be able to eat a specific restaurant along the way, or are they going to have enough rooms at the hotel that you're going to? And I'll guarantee you, nowadays, of course, there's really, unless you're going into a town that's got some big event and all the rooms are sold out. and you almost have to go like 50 miles away to get a room. That happens, but you go with the flow. And I've talked to so many people that stopped planning on their vacations and just went with the flow. And they said it turned out 10 times better, many times better than when they had planned it. So the change is so rapid. Things shift and change. Your thoughts shift and change. They change everything. Your thoughts could change your whole directional path of that vacation just by what you're focusing on. I hope I'll be able to get a room. Or, I hope the room's great. Their last room was horrible. Or I hope the food's good. Oh, I hope the restaurant has good service. See, all these things. Or if the vehicle breaks down. I don't want the vehicle to break down. And a lot of times the vehicle breaks down. But change is absolutely constant all around us. Body changes. Everything outside of us changes. All the things in the body change. It's like when I used to come out here a lot, comparatively speaking, through the years, and I was out here like when I had gotten here this last time. It was about 12 years since I'd been here. And it was interesting because when I talked with my broker friend, he said to me, boy, this isn't what it used to. It's not the way you knew it as 12 years ago. Everything's changed. So when I got here, I saw some change. I saw more buildings, of course, right? More development. Some new restaurants. But there's certain things that I looked and I said, well, it doesn't seem like it's changed that much. Just more buildings. That's about it. But the landscape, no one blew up a mountain or tore this down or that down. It seemed not that big of a difference. But then you start running into people that you knew back then that they owned a business and the business is gone. They sold it and they're off on doing something. And you see this and what happened to that restaurant? Oh, they changed hands, changed the name. What about that business? Oh, they're out of business. And change is so constant that you're never going to know from one minute to the next. That's why we constantly focus on going with the flow. Don't take things so seriously. And relax yourself. Float through the life that you've been given. And enjoy the life that you've been given. So in this quiet time of the meditation, really take a look at the changes that are happening in this very moment, this very now, and how you've changed. How you've responded, how you feel, how you believe. You might be amazed. I'll join you in the meditation, and I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose. And an easy and slow breath out through the mouth. Move slowly. You can always choose to be at peace with what is. At any moment of your life, you can decide to accept life's circumstances instead of resist or judge it. The result's total fulfillment and joy on every level of your being. It is your choice each moment where you choose to focus your attention on what you want or what you don't want. Your assignment for today is to only focus on what you want. Be at peace with what you don't want. Entertain the feelings of being at peace no matter what occurs in your outer world. Take that with you for the rest of your day into the evening and night and the following morning. We will return here Tuesday, August 8th, 2023, 3:15 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call. Be gentle, kind, generous, and humble with yourself at all times. Be in the highest of the highest high, deepest of the deepest, deepest eternal gratitude at all times, no matter what's going on around you.